My best friend ruined my engagement party and said it was a joke. My name is Harper Lewis, and until that night, I would have sworn that friendship was bulletproof. Anna and I had been inseparable since freshman year of college, heartbreaks and hangovers alike. We'd seen each other through everything. My breakup with the human embodiment of a red flag, her imploding attempt at a startup that sold artisan candles for gamers. Don't ask. And every moment in between. If someone had told me she would one day be the reason I locked myself in a bathroom at my own engagement party, mascara bleeding like a horror movie extra, I would have laughed. The evening started like a Pinterest fever dream, string lights wrapped around oak trees, a rented backyard tent with fairy white drapery, champagne chilling in silver buckets. My fiancé, Ethan, looked infuriatingly handsome in his navy suit, smiling in that subtle way that always made me feel both grounded and dizzy. We'd spent weeks planning the night, wanting it to feel intimate but magical, the perfect mix of laughter and sentiment. Everyone I loved was there, including Anna, my maid of honor in the making, wearing her trademark confidence like perfume. She'd insisted on handling the speeches. "Trust me," she told me with that mischievous grin. "I know exactly what tone to hit, funny but heartfelt." When the moment came, I was floating on a kind of euphoria that only comes from champagne and future promise. Ethan squeezed my hand as Anna clinked her glass and stepped forward. "I've known Harper for over a decade," she began, voice light, projecting effortlessly. "She's smart, stubborn, and has an uncanny talent for picking men who make therapists rich." Everyone chuckled, including me. Classic Anna, sassy opening, harmless ribbing. I relaxed. Then the laughter shifted. She leaned toward the crowd, voice conspiratorial. But seriously, when she told me she was dating Ethan, I almost staged an intervention. Laughter again, but uneasy this time. I mean, come on. This is the same girl who gave relationship advice while crying over an ex who blocked her on Instagram. She chuckled and kept going, riding the discomfort like a pro surfer. We all thought she'd need at least 3 more years and 2 more disasters before getting engaged. My smile froze. I glanced around. Some guests were laughing nervously, others staring at their glasses like they'd suddenly become very interested in bubbles. Ethan's thumb tapped my hand under the table, a silent question. "You okay?" I forced a nod. Anna wasn't done. "And Ethan, what a saint. Honestly, man, you deserve a medal. You should have seen Harper that night. She decided to text every ex she's ever had to tell them she's emotionally evolved." She mimed holding a phone, using my drunk voice to perform the message. My chest tightened. She was turning my most private, regret-soaked moments into entertainment. Oh, and let's not forget the time she threw her shoe at a guy because he mispronounced her name. The crowd roared. My stomach dropped. Somewhere between the laughter, I caught sight of my father's bewildered face, my mother's tightly polite smile. I felt heat creeping up my neck, but Anna kept going, oblivious. "All jokes aside," she said, giggling like someone who'd had 1 glass too many. "I'm just shocked Ethan didn't run after seeing her quarterly emotional breakdown." Joking, kinda. By then, the laughter had faded into small, uneasy murmurs. She sensed it and tried to pivot. "Anyway," she said brightly, "I love you both, truly. Here's to proving us all wrong." She raised her glass, eyes glinting with something I couldn't name. Applause scattered across the crowd like pity confetti. I managed a brittle smile, thanked her, and prayed for the music to start. When it did, I excused myself under the pretext of checking something with the caterer and walked toward the house on autopilot. The moment I hit the downstairs bathroom, everything cracked open. I locked the door and sank to the cold tile, dress pooling around me, shaking with a cocktail of anger, humiliation, and heartbreak. How could she? She knew those stories weren't cute. They were chapters from nights I'd cried on her shoulder, the secret soundtrack of my lowest moments. The thought that Ethan's family, the very people who'd welcomed me so warmly, had just heard them filtered through mockery, made my stomach lurch. I splashed water on my face, trying to erase the tears before they stained the night completely. A gentle knock came on the door. Harper, honey, it's me. Ethan's voice, steady, soft. I opened the door, and he pulled me into his arms before I could speak. Hey, he whispered, you've got absolutely nothing to be embarrassed about. She crossed a line, not you. I nodded against his shoulder, unwilling to unravel further. He kissed my forehead. Let's go back when you're ready. I'll handle everything. But I couldn't face the crowd yet. After a few quiet minutes, he returned to keep the party afloat, while I tucked myself away in the guest room with a bottle of water and my racing thoughts. I scrolled through texts. One unread message from Anna, time-stamped 2 minutes after her speech. Hope you know I was kidding. You looked like you were going to cry. LOL. That LOL detonated something small and bitter inside me. The next morning, sunlight streamed across a battlefield of empty glasses and wilting flowers. I woke to a pounding headache and a dozen apologetic voicemails from guests. You didn't deserve that. She went too far. Are you okay? When I finally summoned the courage to check my social media, my heart sank. Someone had uploaded clips of Anna's speech to Instagram stories. The comments were a parade of laughing emojis and awkward "oh no" reactions. Meanwhile, the woman herself was on her account posting a selfie captioned, "Still can't believe my bestie's getting married. Love you, Harp." Hashtag just a joke, hashtag best maid of honor ever. That was the moment realization hit me. Anna didn't understand she'd wrecked something precious, or worse, she didn't care. By noon, she was on my doorstep, sunglasses covering what I assumed were hangover shadows, carrying 2 iced coffees like a peace offering. Before you say anything, she chirped. I know, I got a little carried away, but it killed, right? Everyone was laughing. Everyone was horrified, I said flatly. Her smile faltered. Come on, Harper, lighten up. You always tell me not to take myself so seriously. There's a difference, I replied, voice trembling with fatigue, between jokes and betrayal. Her face hardened, defensive sparkle rising like static. It was your idea to make it fun. I thought roasting you was fair game. It's not my fault you can't take a joke. I stood there, speechless for a beat, and quietly said, You didn't roast me, Anna. You humiliated me. She rolled her eyes. Oh, please, this is so dramatic. And just like that, a decade of friendship, sleepovers, secrets, and sisterhood started to crumble in real time. That confrontation was only the beginning of what would unravel over the next few days. The fallout among our circle. The message threads turned battlefields. The realization that sometimes best friends forever has an expiration date stamped in invisible ink. And as I'd soon find out, Anna's definition of a joke came with consequences much bigger than laughter. The silence after that argument felt heavier than shouting ever could. Anna stood there on my doorstep, half expecting me to cave the way I always had after our fights. But I didn't. I was too tired, too raw. I think you should go, I said quietly. She blinked, then gave a little incredulous laugh, the kind that said, You can't be serious. Harper, we've been friends for 10 years. You're really gonna freeze me out over one joke. One joke? My voice cracked. Anna, you turned my engagement party into a roast about every mistake I ever made in front of my fiancé's family. If that's your idea of humor, maybe I've forgotten what friendship even is. Her jaw tightened. Fine, she said finally, the word sharp enough to leave a cut as she turned and walked down the porch steps. You'll regret overreacting. The sound of her car door slamming echoed against the quiet suburban morning, a punctuation mark to a decade of inside jokes, late-night confession calls, and shared birthdays. Inside, Ethan met my eyes with an unspoken question. I told her to leave, I said. He nodded, wrapping me in a silent, steady hug that said more than any speech could. For the rest of the day, I moved in slow motion, replaying her words from the night before like a soundtrack of disbelief. Then the calls began. Friends, coworkers, even my sister, all wanting to check in, but also half swayed by conflicting stories. Because, of course, Anna had already started spinning a narrative. I didn't mean to hurt her. Harper's just sensitive. It was funny until she made it dramatic. By evening, I was tagged in 3 posts where people were debating who was right. Social media had turned my humiliation into lunch break entertainment. By evening, I wanted to disappear. Instead, I did the mature thing, or the masochistic one, and reached out to a mutual friend, Clara. To hear the Whisper Network version? Honestly, everyone thinks Anna crossed a line, Clara admitted in a hushed tone. She's pretending it's all being blown out of proportion, but most of us unfollowed the posts. It was cruel, Harp. Cruel. The word fit perfectly. Cruel and casual, like she didn't care enough for it to be intentional, which somehow made it worse. That night, I sat with Ethan on the couch, wrapped in one of his huge sweaters, watching the same Marvel movie for the 100th time because noise felt safer than silence. "Do you want me to talk to her?" he asked gently. "No," I said, staring into my tea. "I need her to realize this on her own, if she even can." Days turned into weeks. Wedding planning resumed, slower, more cautiously. Invitations went out, color palettes were chosen, and Anna's name stayed off the bridal party list. She didn't reach out again. I thought the distance would numb things, but instead it just clarified them. Without her constant commentary, I noticed how peaceful my life felt. There was no second-guessing every choice for fear of sarcastic teasing, no walking on eggshells masked as banter. It was oddly liberating, not happy yet, but weightless in a new way. Then one night, about a month later, my phone lit up at 1:24 a.m. Anna calling. I almost didn't answer. Curiosity or maybe nostalgia won. Her voice came through quiet and ragged. "Harper, I think I messed up." I sat up, pulse quick. Behind her voice was the unmistakable sound of a bar, muted laughter, clinking glasses. "Where are you?" I asked. "Somewhere that seemed fun an hour ago," she replied. She slurred lightly. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry, okay? The party thing, it was stupid. I thought people would laugh, you'd laugh, and it'd be harmless. But it wasn't." For a moment, I just listened. My anger, which I'd been nursing like a small fire, flickered uncertainly. "You didn't just tell jokes, Anna," I said. "You told stories only I trusted you with, the things I was ashamed of." "I know," she whispered, "and I hate that I did. Everyone started talking about how perfect you and Ethan were, how you were growing up, and I felt left behind, I guess. I wanted to prove I still mattered. So I acted out like a jealous old friend." That admission hit me sideways. Jealousy, the truth I hadn't wanted to name but had sensed for months. The way she rolled her eyes when I mentioned Ethan, the snide jokes about domestic bliss. Beneath her confidence, there was insecurity I'd never recognized. "Anna," I said carefully, "you mattered because you were my friend, not because you were the loudest one in the room. But I can't forget what you said that night. Not yet." Silence. Then, softly, "I understand." A shaky laugh followed. "Guess I finally learned when a joke's not funny." We hung up soon after. I didn't sleep much, turning her words over until dawn peeled across the curtains. The next morning, she texted, "Thank you for picking up. I'm going to work on myself. For real this time." For a while she did. She vanished from social media, checked into therapy, according to Clara, and started actual self-repair. She left a single handwritten letter at my doorstep one Sunday, a simple apology, no defenses, just raw regret. It ended with, "I hope someday we toast again. Not because we forget, but because we both grew." I cried reading it, honestly cried, not from humiliation, but from the mourning of something lost and maybe partially found. I didn't reply right away. Forgiveness, I realized, isn't an event, but a process. The slow rebuilding of trust between demolished foundations. Months later, when Ethan and I finally walked down the aisle, the air felt bright and calm. The ceremony was small. My new maid of honor, Clara, glanced at me with a warm smile before her speech. Short, sweet, exactly what I needed. No roast, no hidden claws, just truth and affection. As the reception wound down, I checked my phone and noticed a new message request. It was from Anna. Just 3 words. You looked radiant. No hashtags, no LOL, just sincerity. I took a deep breath and typed back, thank you. Nothing more, nothing less. Because sometimes that's where healing starts. Not with perfect closure, but with reconciliation soft enough to fit into 2 simple words. Later that night, while Ethan and I danced under another web of string lights, I thought of the girl who once stole the show with cruelty and the woman learning, somewhere, how to speak with kindness again. I'd wanted revenge once, some grand moment of vindication, but instead, I felt peace. And maybe that's the best punchline of all. The joke that turned into growth, the friendship that fractured but still, despite everything, taught both of us what love actually means when the laughter dies down. A year later, the memory of that night had softened from a wound into a scar, still visible but no longer aching. Life had filled in the spaces Anna used to occupy. Ethan and I returned from our honeymoon to a rhythm that felt settled and beautifully ordinary. Shared morning coffees, long commutes accompanied by podcasts instead of anxiety, small domestic arguments about laundry temperature settings. The absence of drama was its own quiet luxury. Yet sometimes, while scrolling through old photos, a decade's worth of graduations, Halloween costumes, road trips, I'd land on a snapshot of Anna and me, mid-laugh, and feel a tug somewhere deep below the ribs. I had written her postcards twice, unsent drafts sitting in a drawer. Each began the same way, Dear Anna, I still think about that night sometimes, not with anger, but with curiosity. Then I'd stop, uncertain what came next. Forgiveness had taken hold, but friendship? That was trickier. One spring afternoon, I found myself at a charity art auction organized by a local startup incubator Ethan's company was sponsoring, and I'd tagged along more out of duty than enthusiasm. The event occupied a union of chaos and chatter, canvas and cocktails, polite laughter echoing off brick walls. I was balancing a flute of sparkling water when I glanced across the room and froze. There she was, Anna. Her hair was shorter now, shoulder length and darker at the roots, her posture quieter than I remembered. She wore a soft gray dress that managed to look elegant but unforced. For a full minute, I just watched, absorbing the surreal possibility that real life sometimes writes its own sequels. Then her eyes lifted and met mine. Surprise flickered, then something calmer, an unspoken question. Is it okay if I walk over? I nodded before I'd fully decided to. Harper, she said, voice a touch nervous, a stark contrast to the effortless confidence she'd once wrapped herself in. You look, she exhaled, smiling faintly, happy, really happy. I am, I replied. You look different. Therapy, meditation, and fewer margaritas, she quipped lightly. Then, softer. I'm also sorry. Again, I know I said it before, but seeing you in person, it feels important to say it where it counts. I studied her face, the absence of defensiveness, the small humility in her smile, and realized that time had rounded her edges just as mine had softened. It hurt, I admitted, but it's over. We both learned things. She nodded, eyes glinting. Yeah, I learned that hiding insecurity behind humor only makes you lonelier. We talked a little longer, neutral topics at first, the past orbiting us but not suffocating. She told me she'd started volunteering for community theater, channeling her need for a stage somewhere safe. I told her about the mentorship project I'd begun for young women planning weddings on a budget. She laughed, half proud, half teary. There was no grand reconciliation, no cinematic makeup hug, just 2 adults standing in the noisy hum of an art show, acknowledging that some bonds don't revive. They evolve into respectful memory. When the auction's chatter rose again, she glanced at the exit. I should go, she said. It was good seeing you, Harp. You too, Anna. I hesitated, then added, take care of yourself. She smiled, a real smile this time. I finally am. Then she slipped into the crowd, soft gray dissolving into color and motion. That night, back home, I told Ethan about it. He listened, the way he always does, before saying simply, I'm glad you got that moment. I was too, because true closure, I learned, isn't dramatic. It's quiet. It arrives on its own timeline, usually when you stop demanding it. In the months that followed, Anna and I exchanged the occasional message. Birthdays, new job updates, funny dog photos. We became something new, something smaller but honest. I never fully let her back into the intimate orbit she once occupied. Yet there was a serenity in knowing forgiveness didn't mean regression. It meant peace. One evening, while clearing out an old box of memories, I found the engagement party invitation, creased, champagne-stained, faintly sparkling under the lamplight. Instead of throwing it away, I slid it into my journal with a note. People can break you and still be part of what built you. That sentence lingered with me later as I stood on our balcony, watching dusk settle over the city. The string lights were identical to the ones from that long-ago party. Our decorator had reused them for our wedding, an accidental poetic detail that felt like reclaiming a symbol. Out in the distance, car horns bled into laughter from another celebration somewhere. Life, messy as it is, went on beating. I lifted my glass to the horizon, whispering a quiet toast that only I could hear, 1 part gratitude, 1 part release. To the girl who learned boundaries the hard way, to the friend who finally learned humility, to the joke that taught us both to take our hearts more seriously. Because that's how some stories close, not with the punch of betrayal or the noise of vindication, but with a deep exhale, forgiveness rippling outward until all that's left is understanding. And beneath it, the faint, enduring laughter of the women we once were, naive, flawed, and still somehow, after everything, a little bit fond of each other.